Good morning, everybody, to the Masterclass 2013 of the Zurich Film Festival, the 9th. We will spend a little bit more than an hour together talking about editing this morning, and it's a pleasure that Hervé Schneid is with us. Hervé Schneid has been here as a jury member in 2008. It's already 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Runs, huh?
Yeah.
And you see the development of the festival, how it sort of grows and grows and grows.
I didn't really have time to see it because I just
Not
arrived
yet.
yesterday. So
Okay, so you will
planning
see it.
to do that this afternoon.
Yeah. We will really talk about editing. Hervé Schneid started, well, he actually wanted to become a doctor, but then he decided to become an editor. And he will maybe tell a little bit why he changed his mind. If you look at his IMDb, what do you say? Like,
resume?
Resume. It has about 45 titles so far.
Really?
I would say you worked on. Started in '83 with L'été ardent. He worked with different directors, with Sally Potter, with Lars von Trier, with Johnny Depp, and of course with Jean-Pierre Jeunet, which is a very important collaboration we will talk about definitely today. On this collaboration, he won an César for Delicatessen, the editing of Delicatessen in 1991. Sort of give some information on you. He then worked, for example, different films again with City of the Lost Children. We will have a little look at that film as well today. And that was sort of the call to Hollywood for Jean-Pierre Jeunet. You followed him. You worked on Alien 4 with him. Then you worked in Hollywood a little bit, but then you more or less focused on Europe again. Came back. He was the editor of Amélie. We know, probably everybody knows that wonderful film with Totu. And he worked with Billy August on Goodbye Bafana. And he now has his latest product is a 3D film, again with Jean-Pierre Jeunet, The Young and Prodigious T.C. Spivet. T.S. Spivet, excuse me. T.S. Spivet. We will have a trailers on that one. So, Hervé, it's nice to have you here. Maybe you can tell us a little bit in the beginning, before we have a look at one of your excerpts, we would have to look at Europa. Becoming an editor by you was by coincidence.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely just, I don't know, coincidence, that's good, that's a good word. In fact, I started medicine studies and kept on fading each time we went into cutting things, you know, it was a bit tough. The first experience of surgery, let's say, was the study of the I don't know the name in English, you know, the arteria, the coronary arteria. So we were in a room, and we were 30 about 30 of us, and a guy came with a body. You know, when you give your body to science, it's you don't realize it's mainly for students to play with. So he brought the body, took a surgery saw, and cut the head, cut the throat in several pieces, and put them like this in order for us to study where the arteria was going. So I just had problems to stand this. So I decided very quickly.
You do different editing.
Yeah, it's another kind of cutting. So I decided to change direction. And then I wanted to become a photographer, still photographer, because I was really passionate with that. But it was too late to get into an interesting school, so I just wondered what I was going to do. And I had a connection with an editor who was working in Israel, so I called him. And he said, well, I'm starting a feature in 2 weeks, and I need a runner. So if you're interested, just come. So I went. So he picked me up at the airport with my suitcase, brought me to the cutting room, and then showed me a small, that's kind of nice because it was a Swiss Army bed, you know, a very rough one, which was in a corner. And he said, well, okay, you'll sleep here, put your suitcase here, and come and work. And I started to work with him I worked 6 months with him as an apprentice, 20 hours a day, 7 days a week for free. So that was a good introduction to editing. And you know what? I loved it. So I decided to keep on doing this. And I stayed 2 years in Israel and then I went back to Paris and started to try to find work. And it worked. So that's the story.
You said you liked it, even though it was kind of a harsh condition.
I loved it.
What was it? What was it that you sort of hooked on?
I don't know. When you discover something that you realize you were meant for, you know, it's kind of a very good feeling. Mm-hmm. I don't know, you know, playing with picture and sound and making magic in the dark. It's beautiful.
We have one. We would like to start with one excerpt.
Sure.
It's from Europa, from Lars von Trier. Maybe you can say something about this film.
Maybe afterwards.
Do we need an introduction? It's the beginning of the film.
Oh no, I don't know. I suppose everybody knows Lars von Trier and maybe Europa. Yeah.
So let's have a look at it. It's the beginning of the film.
You will now listen to my voice. My voice will help you and guide you still deeper into Europa. Every time you hear my voice, with every word and every number, you will enter a still deeper layer, open, relaxed and receptive. I shall now count from 1 to 10. On the count of 10, you will be in Europa. I say 1. And as you focus your attention entirely on my voice, you will slowly begin to relax. 2. Your hands and your fingers are getting warmer and heavier. 3. The warmth is spreading through your arms, to your shoulders and your neck. 4. Your feet and your legs get heavier. 5. The warmth is spreading to the whole of your body. On 6, I want you to go deeper. I say 6. And the whole of your relaxed body is slowly beginning to sink. 7. You go deeper and deeper and deeper. 8. On every breath you take, you go deeper. 9. You are floating. On the mental count of 10, you will be in Europa. Be there at 10. I say 10. You are listening to the noise of rain beating against a large metal drum. Go closer.
We found it a little kind of interesting to start an editing masterclass with
one shot. But that's editing too, because editing is not just putting the maximum shots you can in a minimum time. You know, it's just setting a mood, an ambience, and this obviously goes exactly in the good direction for this film. In fact, it's not one single shot; it's a loop. So I think the shot was about, I don't know, 12 or 13 seconds. I don't remember. This was kind of a long time ago. And so we did the loop. And of course, at the time, we were cutting in film. So it was kind of a nice exercise to see what it did. Because, you know, as film goes, you have to handle it like this with the machine in order not for it to break. So it was kind of a sportive shot to make. It doesn't look like it, but it's... So this was made for setting the mood of this hypnotical film, let's say, which allows us to use the voiceover and bring so many, how shall I put it, impressions of the mind, let's say. So,
when you were working with Lars von Trier on this one, was that his idea from the beginning that it has to look like this? Or
oh, he has a very precise idea of everything he does. He does a lot of storyboarding. He plans everything. He's the same kind of director as Jean-Pierre is. They're planning everything. They've seen the film before starting to shoot it. And it's very precise. And on this film, he didn't shoot very much. Sometimes he just had one take. When he was happy with the take, he said, okay, let's move to the next shot. So everybody started trembling, you know. What about problems with the lab and everything? He said, no, it's okay, I have what I need. I never get it better, so let's move. And he had some problems at times. There's this, I don't know if you remember the film correctly, but there's a scene where the owner of the railroad company is being buried. It's at night. It was shot in Poland, and he had, I don't know, 500 people on the set, you know, acting as goers to these funerals. So they shot for a complete night, a lot of material with a lot of people, and then went back to the other set, and lost the rushes, lost the neg, and for about a week nobody could find it. So he was kind of desperate because, you know, it was the most expensive scene of the film. And so he went every day to the cathedral in Copenhagen to pray. And one day he got out of the cathedral, and one assistant came with the boxes in his hand. We found it, we found it. So he thought it was a miracle and that God helped him. He's a very mystical person.
At what stage does he involve you as an editor?
At the stage of editing, because you know I didn't know him. In fact, I was forced on this film by the French co-producer who had more than 50% of the film. So Lars didn't really chose me. You know, it's just came. And at first he was a little bit worried because he thought that I might become a spy for the French producer. So the relationship at the beginning was a bit weird, but then he understood that I was giving everything I had for him and the film and not for the French producer. Mm-hmm. So it went really well. He's a very, very brilliant person with a very specific sense of humor, as you may know, but very funny at the same time. So.
When you have to define the role between a director and an editor, from your perspective, how would you say is an ideal, or for you an ideal?
Well, I define my position as a collaborator for the film and the director. And the rest of it doesn't matter, doesn't interest me. The producer's problems are the producer's problems. I'm working with the director for the best possible film. Mm-hmm. So I always say what I think to the director. I always give an honest point of view, which is mine. I mean, I might be wrong, I might be right. And the question is not who's right and who's wrong, but how to find the best possible solution. Creative, if possible.
And is it with Lars von Trier, this film, for example, are you both working all the time together? Or
not all the time. With Lars,
coming and going and leaving
I started while he was shooting, and after the shoot he went for a holiday, just 10 days I think, in his trailer. So I decided I wanted to make a good impression, you know, because I mean I saw before that he did The Element of Crime, which I thought was a wonderful film, and when I got this call to work with him, I just was really impressed, so I wanted to make a good impression. So I decided that when he would be back, I had to show him a first assembly. So it gave me 10 days after the end of the shoot to get a first assembly, and the shoot was quite short, so it was really fast. So I worked quite a lot in order to get that, and I did it. And then when he arrived, I screened in the rough cut. It was not completely elaborate, but it existed, and he could see the film. So that's the way we decided to work. So he let me by myself, gave me indications. I was doing, going in his direction, but making them mine as I was doing them. And then we would go to a screening room. He was sitting just in front of me in the sitting room, in the screening room, and when he had a note, he just raised his arm. So I took a note, he rose his arm at this point, and then we discussed about it, and made changes, and we argued, and it went really fast. I think I finished the picture in 9 weeks in total, which I think is just impossible. But there's not that many shots. I think it's about 500. So it's okay.
You said that he was shooting some of the scenes just once.
Yeah, one take.
So then you had only one chance.
Sure.
And they had some problems, you said.
No, because losing the rushes.
Losing the rushes, that was.
But
the one.
no, the lab.
But
was
for you,
great.
it was. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, you can't choose from any other material if you.
You have a lot of
take.
things to choose, even if you just have one shot. You choose when you start, when you finish, where you put it. No, you still have choices.
But are you an editor who likes to have a lot of material to choose from, or is it?
It depends on the time.
Also?
It depends on the time you have to cut it. Because of course, the more material you have, the more time you have to spend looking at it, choosing it, making changes, trying things. So it depends. Of course, if you have an action sequence, you need a lot of rushes. You need a lot of things to choose from. And even with quiet sequences with actors, you have to have choice. But I mean, having a lot of bad material is not very helpful anyway. So it's better to have a small amount of very good material than a big amount of not so good material.
You said with Lars von Trier, because of your French producer, you just happened to work with him on Public Enemy, which is another film. Double film, actually. Who knows Public Enemy? Most of you. We will have a look at it at once. How was the situation there?
Well, there's absolutely no connection in between the two films. It's about 25 years in between the two of them. The Public Enemy is a French director. It's a French story, and it's a gangster film, let's say. And in fact, I came on board of this film after it was a very long shoot because they shot two films at the same time. And I came a little bit later because they had an editor and were not happy at all with what happened in the first weeks of the editing. So he was replaced, and I came on board and redid everything because it was not really the direction I wanted to follow. And but on this film, I really was by myself nearly all the time, because the main concern of my director when he had finished the shoot was to keep the producer out of the cutting room, and it took him a lot of time, because the producer is wonderful, is really good, but he is very involved, and he really wanted to put his hands on the film. And the director tried to avoid that, so he spent a lot of time keeping him away. So I stayed by myself. So he came a few times, I mean, regularly, but not that often. So, but it was a very nice moment, because I felt completely free, and what I did, he liked. So that was quite good.
So the beginning we will see that was.
So we'll see the beginning, because we decided to show you beginnings. Because if you haven't seen the film, then it gives you a taste. And I think it's very important for a beginning of a film to give you the impression and the feeling of what the film is going to be and set the mood. So that's why we chose Europa. And this one, And the beginning of this one was not planned at all like this. So it's something I did in the cutting room because I had a huge amount of material. This, what you're going to see, was shot with about 7 cams, I think, in all directions. And everything was nice. And I didn't know what to choose and what to put on screen. So I decided to do that.
Let's have a look.
And it's, of course, it is set in the 70s. So to get the feeling of the period, I found this solution.
Tu penses que je suis même pas un kilomètre d'ici avec de l'eau?
cool beginning. So you said that was absolutely your idea to come up with these different pictures.
Yeah, we had quite a fight afterwards because, well, the producer and myself, of course, were for this beginning, and the director wasn't sure about this, and I went for a masterclass in Berlin for a week. At the end of the editing, the picture was supposedly locked. And when I came back, I arrived at the airport, I got a message from my assistant telling me, Hervé, you have to come back really quickly because they have changed the beginning. So I rushed to the cutting room and I see a much poorer beginning with all the extracts of the news on TV announcing the death of Mesrine, the main character. He was a very big famous gangster in France at that time, public enemy number one. And the director had done this opening scene with the announcement on TV at the news reports that Mesrine had been shot dead, and you had all, it was terrible quality coming from video of the time, and poor colors, and this guy presenting the news with the person in the background saying, making the signs for the. For the people who couldn't hear, so it was looking exactly like a poor TV film. So we had quite an argument. I mean, we had a big discussion. It lasted for a few days, and finally we decided. I mean, we convinced the director that this was kind of a bit more stylish beginning.
Absolutely, I can imagine.
And when the film was released, the first thing that the critics wrote about was about the opening, which was great, put you in the ambience and the period and everything. So.
Tell us about this process. I mean, they're all young directors, producers here, and they might be in a situation like this, where
okay,
different...
listen to your editors.
As simple as that.
No, that's a joke, of course, but... No, I mean, the thing is, in a cutting room is that you have to keep an open mind and be ready to change your mind, to accept suggestions and at least listen and try to because I know how complicated it is to direct a film. You have to take so many decisions, and the problem is not to get stuck in the decisions you've made at an earlier stage, and things can change. And if you work with people you trust, then it's much easier to change your mind if you have to. I'm not saying you have to, but.
Do you read a script often, or?
Well, I read the script, before starting, and then each time I get the rushes of a scene, when the scene is complete, I then reread the script several times in order to really understand what is the action, what's the connection with the previous scene and the next one, and to understand the motivations of all the characters. And then I don't go back to the script. Just I need to impregnate myself with it, and then I trust the material I have and go in the direction I feel is the best with the material I have. The script is a reference, but is not. It is. In a way, a Bible, but you can interpret a Bible. I mean, that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
And the beginning we just saw, is it edited still on film, or?
No, this of course not. I mean, this on film would have been a killer. No, this was made with the Avid.
It's 2008, I think.
Yeah, it's not. It's quite recent.
Quite yesterday,
yeah, quite.
almost.
Yeah, it feels like yesterday.
Was it said in the script that? Thank you. Was it said in the script that it starts with a scene that comes very late in a movie, or was that you already?
This scene not only comes later in the film.
In the second part,
doesn't
isn't it?
come in the film. It comes in the second film.
Yes, I know. Yeah, but you choose to pick it up.
No, that was the idea from the beginning, from the written script, that the film should start with his death, because I mean there's no surprise or suspense, because everybody in France knows that this guy was shot in Paris, So we had to, you know, to show his death at the beginning. So we did that, but this is done with shots where you never see the police looking at him. But in the second film, you have kind of the same structure, but with you can see the policeman looking at him. For example, when you have the title of the film is passing in the background, and in front of in the foreground of the film, of the picture, you have a blue truck. But you don't see anything in the truck, you know, you just pass the truck and see and follow the gangster. But in the second film, you have the same shot, but you clearly see that there is two policemen in the truck, you know, talking to other policemen and looking for him. Not looking, but spying on him. And at the end of the credit scene, when he leans on a very small truck, waiting for his wife to come back with a suitcase, in the second film, you go in. I mean, you see the guy, and you go inside the small truck, and you see that the policeman who's inside is getting really frightened because the big gangster is here. So you have it's a different way of looking at the scene, of showing the scene. And I wanted the second one to start not with this scene, but with the same style. And finally, they didn't have time to do it, and they didn't push for it.
But you choose the material that was meant for shown later, or was it really shot for putting it at the beginning?
I mean, all the shots with the trucks and where you don't see the policeman was meant for the beginning of this one.
Okay.
More questions? Thank you for starting the discussion. That's wonderful. That's the idea of a masterclass.
Yes. At which point did you have ever to make the decision with the director that you need to reshoot something, or to shoot an additional scene, or to change the ending? And how was this process?
This is really rare, I would say, because I have the great luck to work with directors who know what they're doing and who really have a vision, and they know what they do, they work. So it happens very rarely. With Jean-Pierre, with Schneid, for example, we always keep a 3 days reshoot possibility after the end of the first cut, and usually what is reshot is just you know, small shots of some small inserts, little things, but main shots you don't really reshoot them. I mean, if your director is good, usually it never happens.
But it's you who comes up and says, because you have seen the rushes, and you say,
it's not important who comes and give the idea. It could be the producer, it could be my assistant, it could be the DP looking at the screening and saying, well, maybe we need another shot. You know, it doesn't matter who makes the suggestion. What is important is the final result. Is you know, who's right, who's wrong, is such a poor interest. You know.
Talking to editors, I also heard, for example, that they said they would like to be involved really at a very early stage of a film. That they would prefer that to sort of give their ideas, their knowledge, their vision.
I'm not exactly in this mood, because what I like to do is get the best from the material I have. Mm-hmm. It's otherwise, if I would have wanted to suggest the way we should shoot a scene or the complete film, then I would have become a director. You know, it's. I think the purpose of not the purpose, but the spirit of an editor, to me at least, is to. I'm like a chameleon, really. I try to understand the vision and the spirit, the universe of the director, and make it mine with my things, with my sensibility and my feelings, and give it back to him in order to get the best possible film.
And you do that by talking to the director mainly, or by looking at his, or both, looking at his filmography?
You do that by spending a lot of time with him. You know, you don't have to speak all the time, you know, or talk.
Maybe what he likes to eat, what he likes to drink.
Sure, I mean, lunches are very important. As I'm French, you know, it's a very important part of my culture. And I think it's moments where a lot of things are decided, and where the connection with the person you're working with becomes bigger, more important. I think time spent without working is really important. You need time to think and just to relax and to become friends and to understand and know each other with the director. I think it's a very important tandem. Do you say tandem in English? Tandem?
A tandem,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We know,
So
we understand it. A double bicycle, you mean?
Yeah, which means it's a very interesting image, because it means that you are
Really?
going in the same direction, and that's very important.
You say it's very important to become friends, or
Well,
to
not friends,
or to
but
understand each other, tandem. If like people in here, young producers, directors, would you suggest that they, like you with Jean-Pierre Jeunet, that you sort of have a collaboration for almost every film together, or sometimes it's even better to have a new inspiration from somewhere else?
So it depends
how would
completely.
you
I
say
mean,
that?
everybody's different. You know, I know that with Jean-Pierre, and I have this kind of collaboration with another director, and I'm not going to tell you it's not good, because I think it's just wonderful. You know, it's like a family. So you don't need to explain anything, you don't need to argue, because you know what the other one is going to think, and you know what is going to be his reaction. And maybe sometimes you're surprised, so you ask yourself, oh, why is he surprised? And why doesn't he react the way I thought he was going to react? Or maybe because of this. And so I think it's a great way of working, to have a long-time collaboration with someone you admire, you respect, you love. So I'm not going to tell you the opposite. But I think it's very good to discover new people too. You know, you can't just, if you keep on working with the same people all the time, then you don't feed yourself with new things. And curiosity, I think, is a very important thing in the film industry. So you have to feed yourself with new people and new films. But it's so great to feel at home when you do something with someone you know so well.
When you worked on Delicatessen with Jean-Pierre Jeunet and Marc Caro, the two directors, he was a self-made man, actually. He didn't study directing or anything.
He didn't study nothing.
How did you guys meet?
We met while doing commercials. And he had done a few short feature films. And of course, the commercial world was getting very interested in his way of looking at things. So he started doing commercials, and we met really at the beginning. And from the first moment, the first hour we spent on the cutting room together, we just connected, and we never went apart. So no, it was really nice, really good. And on Delicatessen, it was a little bit different, because there were two directors, and the two of them are so heavy workers. You know, they work all the time. And
so Marc Caro is more the designer?
Yeah, he took care of the design, of the artistic style and everything. And he did a lot of sound design too. And when we were cutting on film, of course, on the Steenbeck, and I was in the middle, and Jean-Pierre was here, and Marc was there. And I just couldn't go to the loo, for example, because as soon as I was standing from my chair, one of them was looking at his watch. I couldn't answer the phone, because each time they have so many ideas all the time. I mean, they are so on top of it, really. So you can't breathe. You know, it's just two directors at the same time, like these ones are just tiring, but I mean exciting, but tiring. That was exhausting.
Did they fight a lot, or?
Well,
push themselves to a higher level?
It's not fight. It's just Marc has a very different way of looking at things. He wants everything to be completely perfect. And if we would have listened to him, then a few shots from Delicatessen wouldn't have been in the film because there was such a small detail in a corner of the frame that it was unacceptable for him. But I mean, we didn't see that, really. You have to accept a few defects at times, rather than to lose a shot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that were the fights we had. So then we decided with Jean-Pierre to push Marc to go and work very seriously on the sound design. So this was in another room. And he did very well.
So just to get him out of the way of the cutting room.
Yeah, in a way, yes.
So, but which one made the final decisions then with you?
It was a collaboration, but Jean-Pierre is the director. Okay. He was taking care of the...
So someone has to sort of...
No, they were sharing the responsibility. They wrote the script together with another script writer. There were 3. And then they did the storyboard together. Because Marc is an incredible artist, he draws incredibly well. So Jean-Pierre, in a way, let's say roughly, Jean-Pierre decided the framings and everything, and Marc was drawing them. Mm-hmm. And then on the set, Marc was responsible for the look of everything, and Jean-Pierre would take care of the actors and the rest of the crew.
Mm-hmm. How was that with the City of the Lost Children?
Same collaboration.
Was exactly the same collaboration. Just about 4 years later, right?
Yeah, it's about the time
95
they need to.
You made it, yeah. That was also the time that you sort of jumped over to Hollywood with.
That was after the City of Lost Children.
City of the Lost Children. How was that time? How did you experience Hollywood as an editor?
Well, I mean, you can imagine. A little French editor receiving a call from Fox saying, hello, I'm the vice president of the post-production in Fox, and we are starting a new Alien film, and we were wondering if you would like to come and cut it. And then the punchline was, I hope you speak English. No, that was just wonderful. And it was, in fact, it was a French film paid by the Americans because the director was French, the DP was French, special effects were French, the main special effect house, editor was French, script supervisor French, video assist French. I'm surely forgetting someone,
the Americans didn't really understand what you were talking about when you...
Well, they didn't really interfere. It was kind of a surprise. They let us do whatever we wanted to do. I mean, I'm talking about the editing room until as they usually do, until the director's cut, the screening of the director's cut, the first cut. And then we got this thick of notes with very interesting points because, I mean, they know what they do. And they always pointed places where we thought, well, it was working, it was okay, but we might not have had time to go really deep in the matter, and each time it was pointed. Mm-hmm. Of course, they gave a solution which we hated, and then we decided to address the problems, but finding our own solutions, and in fact, it was exactly what they were waiting for. I think this alien thing was really... The execs were really interesting and intelligent because they chose each time directors with very strong visual universe and let them express it. And that was really good. And at the end of the day, the final cut, which was accepted by the studio, has become the director's cut. Jean-Pierre has really not agreed, but decided that it was his.
Let's go back to City of the Lost Children. Sure. We will have a look at this one, the beginning, of course, as we said. Yeah. What, do we have to know something before we watch it?
No,
we
just watch it.
Watch it and then talk. City of the Lost Children beginning. How much of these pictures you developed in the editing room? How much were on film? How much?
Everything was done on film, and the film was cut on film. So it was kind of a complicated process, because not the beginning with the Santa Clauses, because I mean, you know, there is some kind of a wave effect to give the impression of the uneasiness of the boy. But later, for example, the last shot with Dominique Pinon 7 times on screen, then of course I had 7 final chosen shots for each of the characters, but then I just of course couldn't see them at the same time. So we had to do a lot of temp effects just to decide exactly what was the length of the rhythm of the appearance of the characters, of the length of the shots. So yeah, it was a much longer process than what it is now with the digital editing.
But that was a process where you were talking to the directors before they started shooting. I mean, the composition of these pictures were
no. Everything was planned ahead.
With you?
No.
Not with you?
No. I come when they start shooting.
Okay.
No, it happens that I was asked on some very specific points, but you know,
your knowledge.
Yeah, but you know, the knowledge of an editor is not much. You know, just I really do think that I'm not doing much on the film. You know, I'm just giving myself and my feelings and my impressions and my intuition, sensibility to something, but I'm not doing much. You know. It's kind of easy. You have the best video game ever in front of your eyes, and you just play with it, and that's it.
You make it.
I'm
sound
having
really
fun.
Easy.
That's it.
He makes it sound very easy, huh?
It is.
I don't know. Questions about this world or collaboration with Jean-Pierre Schneid? No. Yes.
Can you tell me about making decisions about music, and how do you pick the decisions? Do you pick it with the editor? Do you have maybe some placeholder music, and how do you work with it?
Music is very important, and it depends on the film. It's always different. At times you have a composer has been chosen ahead, so you know who's going to be the composer. And sometimes he composes music beforehand, before the film is even shot, as Badalamenti is doing. He did the music for The City of Lost Children and for a very long engagement. And but on these films, he's composing the music ahead with David Lynch, but not on these ones. On this one, on The City of Lost Children, he was in California and we were cutting in Paris. So we kept on sending him tapes, because at the time it was tapes, and of the film, and then we received tapes from him of music he composed. We tried them and quite often didn't think it was fitting very well, so I spent hours on the phone with him, because I was the only one who could speak English with him anyway, because at the time Jean-Pierre nor Marc couldn't speak, so everything was going through me. And he sent modifications, and until we got something we liked, and that took quite a while. And then on a very long engagement, we did something different. He came while we were cutting. He installed a keyboard in front of a big screen in the cutting room and just improvised. And we recorded everything. And from that base, we built the music score. And then we went back to California to finalize it. And that was after I used, because I usually use temp music for having something, you know, interesting to look at. So when you know who's going to be the composer, it's kind of easy. I usually take previous compositions from the guy. So I get his universe on the film and build something with his previous pieces. But sometimes you don't know who's going to compose the music, so then you have to find music by yourself. So you just, I listen to a lot of music while I'm cutting, and I try to build something. And and that's the most complicated thing. I mean, you shouldn't, I mean, I try not to take two beautiful pieces for the temp score, because after that you very often are disappointed, even if the guy is really good and great, but you get used to some pieces which are great. I mean, for example, you take the Thin Red Line by Hans Zimmer, you put it on nearly anything, and it's great, you know. Or the Nick Cave music he did for the assassination of Jesse James, the song for Bob. I mean, you look at you put this on anything, it's just wonderful. And then when the composer comes and he sees the challenge, that's tough. But I usually don't cut to music. I put music afterwards. I think music should follow the picture. A film is first a picture. So, so you put music afterwards and enhance everything, or go in a different direction in the mood. But I never cut to music. Music can always be fit to the picture.
Yep.
And tell us how you start the editing process. When you come the first time to the editing room, everything is prepared and you just look at the pictures. How do you start?
No, it's usually I start either at the beginning of the shoot or 1 or 2 weeks later. So when I'm in the cutting room, when I first arrive in the cutting room, I just look at the scenes which are completed, and one by one, in fact. So as soon as the scene is complete, I look at it, make my choices, and start to cut this specific scene. And then I go to the other one, which is coming, and so on and so on. And then as soon as 2 or 3 scenes go together, I put them together and see how they resonate or connect to each other, or one to each other. And then you make a few changes, a few adjustments, and you wait until you do like this until you have a first draft cut, and then you discover the disaster you're in when you look at it. The first screening is always very depressing, because you like every scene, and then suddenly when you have the big picture, suddenly you feel that the rhythm is not right, that maybe the order of the scenes are not right, you miss informations, or you have too much informations, and then the nightmare starts a little bit. Especially for the director.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. So I'm a director, and the editor I work with, I return to her because every film on the rough cut, I get this horrible depression. I say, I've just made a mistake. I'm not a director. I've just failed. And then she's on the last film. She said, "Bryn, you said the exact same sentence 2 years ago on the last film," and I blocked that out. So I'm curious about the different directors you've worked with. Is that true of many of them? And it sounds like you're an optimist.
Being depressed after the first screening?
Huh?
You mean being
yeah, like
depressed after
early
the
on
first
in the early assembly and the first cut. And I mean, it sounds to me like you just love the process of putting it together, and you've got this optimism about the project.
Sure.
How does that affect your relationship with various directors? Like, do they all go in there with the same optimism, or
they all want to kill themselves?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's comforting.
Of course, it is. It is. I mean, you're just normal. It's okay.
And so, but I'm interested. That's good to know. But your role with them, like, how do you you bother?
Well, you nurse them, you comfort them, you tell them, well, we'll find a solution. Don't worry. It's okay. Everything is going to be all right.
He's right. He should kill himself.
No, it's normal. It is normal.
Have you ever found yourself in a disaster that, like, a rough cut in the movie totally doesn't work, and you really have to change, like, the story, the core of the film, or would it always be like find the right way to tell the story, or would you ever like really make huge changes to
No. I was really lucky to work with good directors on good scripts, so I never met this terrible moment. No, I'm quite happy with it. We still can make a lot of very big decisions on a film. For example, I cut a film. I'm sure you didn't see it because it's a small budget, which was not released in the mainstream theaters, but nevertheless, I think it's a masterpiece. It's called Sansa, and the director his name is Siegfried. And it's not an expensive film at all, but it was shot in 15 different countries, following a homeless guy who was chasing a woman he met in the streets of Paris, in Montmartre, and who was a musician playing in an orchestra, traveling around the world. So he's going on a trip to find her because he just fell in love with her. And so we had a wonderful film like this, and the director came up with the idea that, well, he's looking for the woman he loves. It's interesting, but what if he was looking for love in general? That would be more interesting. So let's take out the main female character. And we did it. And it changed completely the film. It's much, much greater. Because suddenly this guy is not looking for one person. He's looking for love. So you can take a lot of big decisions which influence very much the final result of the film, even if you don't have any problems.
But do you think most of the time you need a problem to improve? Or is it like usually, that you always, with a good scene, you're like, no, it could
usually,
be.
Yes. If you don't have problems, you tend to become a little bit lazy. It's when you have problems that you are pushed to find creative solutions. But it's always different anyway. You know, each film is a prototype. You never can apply the same rules to another film. So you have to be all the time very open and open-minded and looking for things. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that, for example, Amélie would be another film with another editor, or do you think that Schneid exactly knows what he wants, and he just it doesn't matter with what editor he works? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
What do you want me to answer you?
Huh?
Of course, it will be very different films. Of course, because although the film would tell the same story, roughly, because we made changes, of course, and the shots will be the same. They might not be in the same order. They might not be at the same length, in the same position. You know, of course, the films would be different. I'm not going to tell you that you know, any editor could do any film, and it's not even a question of quality of work. It's just a question of personality. Mm. You know, if you take a frame out of every cut or one of, you know, I don't know, of a few shots in a sequence, it will change the sequence. The internal rhythm and what's underneath is so important. It's the music of the scene, of the film, and of course it can't be the same with two different editors. And I did the masterclass I was talking about
in Moscow.
No, not in Moscow. In Berlin, yeah. While I was cutting the Public Enemy, was very interesting because it was a workshop, in fact, and we had 16 editors, professional editors, and we divide them in 4 groups of 4 editors, and I brought them exactly the same material. It was rushes from this guy Siegfried, and we told them, okay, do a film with this material, and we got, at the end of the day, with exactly the same pictures, we got 4 different films, but so different you can't imagine.
But it depends on the director.
Sure, of course, there was no director here, but they had exactly the same material. Yeah. So you just connect the shots differently, you know. And yeah, it is different. Of course, it is different. And it's the same thing as if you. I'm not saying that it would be not as good, or worse or better. I'm just saying it's going to be different.
A different version of it.
Sure. I mean, look, if I'm a piano player, you know, I'm going to play a piece for you, and you are a piano player, and you're going to play the same piece. It won't be the same.
Yeah, but I just wanted to ask, the collaboration with the director is a different thing, no?
Well, and the collaboration, of course, will be different because two people...
What he wants, and he just looks for that solution.
Sure, he knows what he wants, but he's waiting for...
Right.
You know, you know, he listens quite a lot. He knows what he wants, but that's the basis of the work, and then you just start to work, you know.
But maybe it's an interesting question, like following this one. Like there are some DOPs who say like you should totally reduce yourself to the medium and the director, and not have like your voice in the movie. And there are some DOPs who have like a very particular style, and you can tell from the movie it's this or this DOP. Would you say there is a particular something about your work that is very you?
No, I think it's what's very me is that I adapt to what the film should be, and I think the answer is in the middle of this. I mean, you can't just forget completely about yourself, because otherwise there's no interest in having you rather than another. But you shouldn't impose your, you know, vision. I don't know how you call it to every film, because otherwise it's not the director's film anymore, it's your film. So if you have this strength and this wish to impose your vision, then it should be a director, because that's the role of the director. And yeah, but I think it's important to bring something to the film, but not in a position, I mean, in the direction of what the film should become. And I try very, very hardly not to impose a specific style which would be my style to all the films. I try to find the specific style which fits the film.
So not if you don't have a style you impose on a film or a scene. I know Walter Murch wrote about his priorities in a scene, and I've forgotten the list, but he even numbered it, like spatial continuity is below emotional continuity of him, you know, and he would look. There are certain things in a scene, and then they were less important than others. So for you, when you start in a scene, what are you looking for? What most grabs you?
Well, that's tough to speak after Walter Murch. You know? Well, I look at the material. I think that's the most important moment in the cutting of a film. It's the discovery of the rushes, and the first feeling, the first reaction you have when you look at all the shots is the reaction the audience will have in a theater. They're not going to go and see the film 100 times. So what you feel when you see a reaction from a character or an action moment, then I try all the time to keep this very first screening in my mind, the feelings I had when I saw them. I try really to get this first fresh eye, that first fresh look, impression stuck in my mind, to remember it, to remember how I felt when I saw it for the first time. And then looking at this, I try to find the one I prefer, you know, because it's all about choices, and the editing mainly is made when you choose. After that, you just put them together and make them work together, but it's the choice which is really important. You can change the meaning of a scene just by choosing one single different shot in the scene, you know. So that's what I'm looking for, the fresh eye impression and remembrance. And then, of course, my favorite moments, and then I try to build the scene around my favorite moments. And sometimes it might be just a look, a close-up look of one of the character, and I try to build everything around it, because I want this specific moment to be in the cut. Maybe later I'll take it out, but you know, the building of it is...
So you may not even edit the scene like, chronologically. You grab this moment and you anchor that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. At times you just find the beginning of the scene because you have the ending, but you don't know how to start it. So according to the shots you have chosen for, you know, later in the scene, then you build it reverse.
one more? Yeah.
So you usually start editing while the movie is still being shot.
Sure.
And how does this influence the running shooting? And are there some directors who don't come to the cutting room while the shooting is still running?
Well, usually they don't have much time while shooting to come to the cutting room. And at times, you know, I'm cutting in Paris usually, and they might be shooting somewhere else. So what I do is to send, now it's very easy nowadays, you know, with the internet, so you send quick times of the scenes you've cut to the director, and they might screen it to the crew, or just keep them for themselves. But they have, they're kept up to date, yes. Yeah, of course, I send everything I do, so he knows where I am and what can be the problems, and we speak on the phone every day. And communication is quite important. Although it's very good to be isolated at the same time. So,
see outside you a little bit.
Yeah. You need time by yourself. You need time to because of course you're very late if you compare to the director. You just arrived on the film. You read the script maybe some weeks ago, and you discover everything. And the director's been working on the film for 2, 3, 4 years, you know, writing and choosing the locations and the casting, and he knows, I mean, he's completely impregnated with this film, and you just discover things. You don't know anything.
And did it occur that the producer called you to prove a scene, like cut the scene, and prove if it works?
No, producers are not allowed in the cutting room until the director allows them to come. You know. Okay. This is not America. You know, in France we have, by law, the final cut for the director. And it's written in the law. So they can't fight, really. I mean, of course, it's always a question of
who pays
balance of power. But
Anyway, we have time to have a look at the latest film you've edited, which is a 3D film. Maybe just briefly, before we see the trailer, is there a difference or major difference between editing 3D and not 3D film,
well,
2D film?
There are differences, but not major. Well, usually what I did, I got the rushes in 3D, of course. So, as I was saying, I looked at the rushes in 3D on a very big screen with very good conditions in order to get this first impression. And then when I didn't have a lot of material, I kept on choosing with the 3D on, but usually I switched to 2D because it's kind of tiring for the eyes, and it's a problem, you know. I need these glasses to read my papers. I don't need glasses to look at my data screens, but I need 3D glasses to look at the screen in 3D. So you spend your time putting the glasses, taking them off, putting the other ones, taking them down, re-putting this one. So it's just, you know, making gymnastic at the same time as you're cutting is not very easy. So I cut in 2D and then checked everything in 3D, and then you do little adjustments in 3D. But yes, we discovered that there are differences, but that's very, you know, detailed.
You like it?
The 3D? Well, the 3D Jean-Pierre did, yes, of course I love it. It has been thought ahead. It's been prepared incredibly well, and it's beautiful, but it doesn't change anything really in the way you're cutting. So
let's have a look for the ending of this masterclass with you. Thank you so much for having you here. Let's have a look, and then we can adapt.
The main difference is for directors. 25 minutes to change a lens?
Yeah. A lot of time of thinking.
Yes.
Our ranch was located several miles north of Dubai. My father had the soul and mindset of a cowboy. Every night he raised a glass of whiskey up to his lips, precisely every 45 seconds. How could my parents have fallen for each other? They were like day and night. As for my sister Gracie, she dreamt of the spotlight. And then there was Layton, my non-identical twin. He got the brawn, I got the brains.
Your invention has won our prestigious Baird Award.
Wow. Tomorrow, I will go to Washington, D.C. to claim my award. Dear Spivet family, thank you for having taken care of me. Everything's going to be fine. You are one of the best families in the world. Love, T.S.
Hello, T.S.?
Stop running, kid!
Not sure what you're looking for, but don't change a thing.